There is a very good chance that something sitting in your kitchen right now, something completely harmless to you, something you eat on a regular Tuesday without thinking twice, could put your cat into an emergency vet clinic within 24 hours. And here's the part that makes this genuinely dangerous instead of just mildly concerning. Cats are incredibly good at hiding illness. A cat that just ingested something toxic can look completely normal, eating, grooming, acting like nothing happened for up to a full day before symptoms show up at all. By the time you notice something's wrong, the damage may already be well underway. So today, I'm going through 15 human foods that are genuinely dangerous for cats. Foods that most owners have no idea are a problem, including a few that get recommended as healthy treats online, despite being straight up toxic. I'm telling you exactly why each one is dangerous, what the warning signs look like, and what to actually do if your cat gets into one of them. Stick around through all 15, because a few of these are sitting in almost every kitchen in America right now, completely unnoticed. Before we get into the list, you need to understand one core piece of biology, because it explains almost everything on this list at once. Cats are obligate carnivores. That's not just a fun fact. It's a fundamental difference in how their bodies work compared to dogs, and definitely compared to humans. Cats lack certain liver enzymes that are needed to break down a whole category of plant-based compounds. Their bodies are built almost entirely around processing animal tissue, not plant matter, not sugar, not many of the things sitting in a typical human pantry. This means a cat's toxic threshold for a lot of foods is dramatically lower than a dog's, sometimes shockingly so, even when the cat weighs a fraction of what a dog does. A small amount that a dog could shake off without issue can genuinely hurt or kill a cat. So if you've ever heard, "It's just a little bit, it should be fine," when it comes to cats, that assumption can be extremely dangerous. Alright, let's get into the list. Number 1, and this might be the single most underestimated one on the entire list: onions, garlic, and every other member of the allium family, which includes shallots, leeks, and scallions. Here's what's happening biologically. These foods contain compounds that damage a cat's red blood cells, leading to a condition where those cells essentially rupture and break down faster than the body can replace them. This can cause a serious form of anemia. And here's the part that catches people off guard. It's not just about biting into a raw onion. Cats can be affected by concentrated forms, like onion powder, garlic powder, onion soup mix, or seasoned broths and gravies. That means a spoonful of gravy off your dinner plate, a lick of soup, or a bite of seasoned rotisserie chicken can all introduce enough allium compound to cause problems, especially with repeated small exposures over time rather than one single large dose. Warning signs include lethargy, weakness, a reduced appetite, pale or white gums instead of the normal healthy pink, and orange to dark red tinted urine. If you see any of that after your cat has had access to seasoned human food, get to a vet immediately. Number 2, chocolate, in every single form, including white chocolate. The toxic compound here is called theobromine, and cats are actually just as sensitive to it as dogs are, even though most cats don't naturally seek chocolate out the way dogs sometimes do. Theobromine restricts blood flow and puts strain on the heart and nervous system. It doesn't take a huge amount either, and darker chocolate contains a significantly higher concentration than milk or white chocolate, meaning baking chocolate or high-percentage dark chocolate is especially dangerous even in a small quantity. If your cat manages to get into any chocolate at all, don't wait around to see if symptoms show up. Call a vet or a pet poison hotline right away and describe exactly what and how much was involved. Number 3, grapes and raisins. This one is honestly a little mysterious, even to veterinarians. Nobody has fully identified the exact toxic mechanism yet, and it's been studied far more extensively in dogs, where it's known to cause acute kidney failure. Documented cases in cats are less common, but that's likely more about cats being pickier eaters than it is about cats being immune to the risk. Because the exact safe threshold is completely unknown, and because kidney failure is such a serious, potentially fatal outcome, the universal veterinary recommendation is to keep grapes and raisins completely away from cats. No exceptions, no just a little taste. Treat it exactly like you would with a dog. Number 4, alcohol in any form, including foods and desserts that contain it. This one surprises people because it seems obvious you wouldn't hand your cat a drink, but alcohol shows up in more food than people realize. Things like rum-soaked desserts, wine reductions in sauces, or unbaked dough that's still actively fermenting. A cat's tiny body size means it takes an extremely small amount of alcohol to cause serious harm. As little as roughly 2 teaspoons of a hard liquor like whiskey can be enough to put a 5-pound cat into a coma. Alcohol affects a cat's brain and liver, essentially the same way it affects a human's, except the margin for error is drastically smaller. Symptoms include disorientation, vomiting, difficulty breathing, tremors, and in serious cases, seizures or loss of consciousness. This is always an emergency, immediately. Number 5, caffeine, found in coffee, tea, energy drinks, and even some sodas. Cats are highly sensitive to caffeine's effect on the nervous system and heart. Even a small spill of coffee that a curious cat licks up, or a dropped energy drink, can be enough to cause a racing heart rate, restlessness, tremors, and in more severe exposures, seizures. Coffee grounds themselves are actually more concentrated and more dangerous than brewed coffee, so if your cat gets into dry grounds, treat that as a more serious exposure than a spilled cup of coffee. Number 6, raw fish, particularly when it's a regular part of the diet rather than a one-time bite. This one confuses a lot of cat owners because fish seems like the most natural cat food there is, right off a cartoon can. But raw fish contains an enzyme called thioaminase, which actively destroys thiamine, a B vitamin that's absolutely essential for a cat's nervous system function. Regular consumption of raw fish can lead to a serious thiamine deficiency over time, which can cause neurological symptoms, loss of appetite, and in severe cases, seizures. This is very different from occasional cooked fish, which is generally fine in moderation. Cooking destroys that enzyme. The danger here is specifically tied to raw fish eaten regularly, not a single incident. Number 7, raw eggs and raw meat in general. Just like in humans, raw eggs and raw meat can carry salmonella or E. coli, which can make your cat seriously ill with vomiting, diarrhea, and lethargy, and can also potentially be transmitted to you or other people in the household through handling. On top of the bacterial risk, raw egg whites specifically contain an enzyme that interferes with biotin absorption, which over time can contribute to skin and coat problems. If you're someone who's drawn to the idea of a raw diet for your cat, that's a conversation to have carefully with a veterinarian first, not something to improvise casually with raw meat straight from your own kitchen counter. Number 8, xylitol, an artificial sweetener found in a huge number of sugar-free products, including sugar-free gum, some peanut butters, baked goods, and certain sugar-free candies. Here's an important nuance. In dogs, xylitol is extremely well documented as causing a dangerous, rapid drop in blood sugar, which can lead to seizures, and it can also cause liver failure. In cats, there aren't as many documented poisoning cases, but that's largely because cats tend to avoid sweet-tasting foods entirely, not because their bodies necessarily handle it any better. Given how severe the reaction is known to be in other animals, and how little specific research exists confirming safety in cats, the responsible move is to keep anything containing xylitol completely away from your cat, treating it with the same seriousness you would for a dog. Number 9, macadamia nuts, and nuts in general as a broader category worth being cautious about. Macadamia nuts specifically are well known to cause toxic reactions, primarily documented in dogs, involving weakness, tremors, and elevated body temperature. Beyond macadamia specifically, nuts as a category also tend to be high in fat and sodium, and they're frequently coated or seasoned with garlic or onion flavoring, which brings us right back to problem number 1 on this list. Most cats aren't naturally drawn to nuts. Some will bat one around like a toy rather than eat it. But if your cat does show interest in nuts, especially seasoned or flavored ones, it's a category worth actively keeping out of reach. Number 10, dairy products, particularly milk and cream. This one trips up almost everyone because cats and milk feel like the most classic pairing in the world, thanks to decades of cartoons and old wives' tales showing cats lapping up a saucer of milk. But the truth is, the vast majority of adult cats are actually lactose intolerant. Kittens can process milk fine while nursing, but as cats mature, Most of them lose much of the enzyme needed to properly digest lactose. Giving an adult cat milk or cream regularly often leads to vomiting, diarrhea, and significant digestive upset. Not a fatal poisoning, but a genuinely unpleasant and unnecessary problem that plenty of owners unknowingly cause, thinking they're doing something nice. Number 11. Bones from cooked meat, especially cooked chicken bones. The danger here isn't toxicity, it's physical. Cooked bones, unlike raw ones, become brittle and prone to splintering into sharp shards. Those shards can cause choking, get lodged in the throat, or worse, cause internal punctures or blockages as they pass through the digestive tract. It's a very different risk category from the rest of this list, mechanical injury rather than chemical toxicity, but it's just as serious, and it's an extremely easy one to accidentally cause simply by tossing your cat a scrap from your dinner plate that still has a bone attached. Number 12. Excessively salty foods, things like salted meats, chips, pretzels, or heavily processed snack foods. Cats do need a small amount of sodium in their diet, but nowhere near what's found in a lot of salty human snacks. Excess sodium intake can lead to dehydration, vomiting, diarrhea, lethargy, tremors, and in more extreme cases, elevated body temperature and more serious complications. This is one of those foods that doesn't sound dramatic on paper, but consistent exposure, a cat that regularly gets a few salty chips here and there, can genuinely add up into a real health problem over time. Number 13. Citrus fruits, including oranges, lemons, and limes, along with the peel specifically. Citrus contains compounds called psoralins, along with essential oils in the peel and pith that cats are notably sensitive to. Exposure typically causes digestive upset, but can also, in some cases, cause skin irritation or a heightened sensitivity to light on the skin. Most cats naturally avoid citrus because they dislike the smell, but issues do come up when citrus peel or zest ends up mixed into food or when essential oils from citrus cleaning products come into contact with a cat's fur or paws. Number 14. Raw yeast dough, specifically bread dough that hasn't been baked yet. This is a sneaky one because it doesn't look dangerous sitting on a counter rising under a towel. Once ingested, the warmth of a cat's stomach continues the fermentation process that would normally happen in your oven, except now it's happening inside your cat. This produces alcohol as a byproduct, directly tying back to the alcohol danger we already covered. And it can also cause the dough to expand significantly inside the stomach, leading to severe bloating, pain, and in serious cases, a genuine medical emergency requiring immediate veterinary intervention. If you bake bread at home and leave dough out to rise, keep it somewhere a curious cat genuinely cannot reach, not just somewhere they usually don't go. Number 15, and this one rounds out the list because it's less about one specific food and more about a pattern that causes real harm. High glycemic, high carbohydrate foods fed regularly, things like bread, rice, potatoes, corn, and sugary treats. Cats have essentially no biological need for carbohydrates in their diet at all, and their bodies are not well equipped to regulate blood sugar spikes the way an omnivore's body is. Regular feeding of these foods, especially as frequent treats rather than rare exceptions, can contribute to obesity and blood sugar regulation problems over time. And it's a particularly serious concern for cats who are diabetic, pre-diabetic, or simply getting older, since kidney and metabolic issues become significantly more common as cats age. So, what do you actually do if your cat gets into any of these? First, don't wait for symptoms to appear before acting, because remember, cats are exceptionally good at hiding how they feel, sometimes for 12 to 24 hours after an exposure that's already causing internal damage. Instead, act immediately, based on what you know they ate, not based on how they're behaving in the moment. Try to figure out roughly what and how much your cat consumed. Call your regular veterinarian, an emergency animal hospital, or a dedicated pet poison hotline right away and describe the exposure clearly. Do not try to induce vomiting on your own without direct veterinary guidance, because for certain substances, that can actually cause more harm than the original exposure itself. And going forward, the single best prevention strategy isn't memorizing every possible danger. It's simply keeping your own food on the counter, on the table, and in the trash genuinely out of your cat's reach as a consistent habit, not just an occasional afterthought. Cats are curious by nature, and that curiosity is part of why we love them. But it's also exactly why so many of these exposures happen in completely ordinary households, not through neglect, just through a moment of not knowing. Now you know. If this helped you look at your own kitchen a little differently, stick around, because next I'm covering the everyday household items, not even food this time, that send more cats to the emergency vet every year than almost anything else on this list. I'll see you in the next one.